Hello everyone, my name is Soundoscar and welcome to episode 3 of the Weekly Amp. It's very weird thinking about this is, I think, my first full series since I started doing like Let's Plays back in the day. So it's very interesting, being here actually making something on the regular, and I will say it does feel nice, and I'm glad it does because it actually leads into one of the main things that I want to talk about today, because I want to talk about a few things that I've been kind of experiencing lately. And the first of those things is learning how to enjoy the work that you do. That's something that I wouldn't say I had a revelation about as of late, but it's something that I realized is, I guess, a lot more important than I had initially, realized. Because I feel like a lot of people, a lot of you guys might go through your day-to-day, you might have, work or something, you might have school or whatever it might be, you might be going through things, and you just aren't enjoying it, even a little bit. I'm not trying to say that for everything that you do, you have to be ecstatic about it, but I feel like learning to find some form of enjoyment, no matter where you are in life, is such an important thing, and it's especially important when it comes to the work that you do. Especially, and this is for anyone out there who has something that they're really passionate about, it's especially when you're doing work with those passions, because the thing with having a passion for something, having a passion for the work that you do, no matter what it is that it still might not be amazing every single second that you're doing it. For example, my mom is a counselor. My mom is a counselor out of school, and she loves it. She's one of the most passionate people I've ever met. The work that she's willing to put in order to help people is immense, and it's something that I look up to a lot. But even then, something that she reminds me of a lot is that not every second of it is necessarily fun. Not every second of it is necessarily enjoyable, even though at the end of the day, it is something that she cares about more than almost anything else. It still can be a struggle sometimes. And I feel like finding that, joy and happiness in some regard is very important. Because I think that, for me, where I am right now, it's very easy for me to say, I can really only find enjoyment if I'm, going viral or something, or if, this thing is doing better, or this thing is doing better. But I think the important thing that I've realized recently is how to find enjoyment in not only the result, but the process as well. And what I mean by that is essentially, whenever I'm having my daily streams, or whenever I'm doing whatever it might be, it could be doing a stream, it could be editing, it could be recording, I think it's really, really important to be able to at least have some value in that. You know what I mean? At least be able to find something. And I feel like overall, I think that for the longest time, it's not that I didn't enjoy the stuff that I did, it was much more along the lines of I just maybe didn't enjoy it as much as something else. And I feel like it's just really important to be able to, acknowledge that distinction and, be okay with that. Sometimes you're just not every second's gonna be great, and that's fine. You know what I mean? And I think that for anything that you guys do, I would recommend trying to find, some part of it that you do enjoy. Because, at the end of the day, with my streams, one thing that I enjoy no matter what is being able to talk to chat. And I have not had a stream ever where there's nobody there. There's nobody to talk to. And even if you start out like that, I find it enjoyable just being able to, sit in front of my computer and talk. That's the part of it that I find some of the most fun. And so, that's what I kind of lean back on. That's the thing that I'm always able to go back to and say, this is the part that I really enjoy. And I think that that's helped a lot, especially recently, because I think that for the longest time, I've always enjoyed my streams, but from time to time, I would feel pressured, or I wouldn't feel relaxed. I would just feel like there's kind of a weight bearing over me saying that, I have to be, this funny or this entertaining, or, it would just be pressure. And that didn't feel good. It didn't. It didn't feel good. It didn't feel right. And I think that especially with something like creation in really any form, it's one of those things that you kind of need to feel right in order to do it. Whatever that is for you, you know? Like, feeling right might not be the same thing for everyone. I know it's definitely not the same thing for a lot of people that I know. Like, I know for an absolute fact that my feeling good is going to be very different than one of my friends feeling good. And, you know, knowing that distinction and being able to say that it's fine, and I guess, you know, just trying to figure stuff out. It's really, really important. Yeah. I want to say that, like, I think that's probably been the most helpful thing that I've kind of learned lately, is being able to make that kind of step and, you know, find improvement in myself through that. And it has been really helpful. It's been really nice. Like, overall, recently, I've just felt a lot better. I felt a lot smoother when it comes to, you know, the stuff that I make. Like, streams just feel better. I feel like I'm being a lot more myself. Like, the other day I had the Minecraft stream. I felt amazing during that entire thing. And it's been ages since I felt that way during... not ages, but, you know, it's just... It's such a back and forth thing with stream, you know, trying to figure out, you know, exactly how to behave, I guess. How to, you know, be just that right entertainer. But I think the thing that I would argue that this is probably the most important thing that I've learned in years, is learning to be okay with not being the best. Because it is a fact of the world that sometimes a lot of times, you're not gonna be the best at something, especially if you're just starting out on it. And I think that, I don't know where this has come from, but I feel like a lot of times we as people tend to think that we have to be the best at everything that we do. We have to be, you know, number one. I see this especially in, like, artists or, you know, people who have, like, really harsh jobs that require a lot of attention to detail. Like, there's just that automatic assumption that if you are not the best, you are the worst. Or, like, if you're not the best, that means you're failing at something. And that means that you're wrong, or you're weak, or you're, you know, just not doing something right. And I feel like that thought is... It's very harmful, you know? Like, it hurts. It hurts a lot. Constantly just telling yourself that, like, oh, I could have done so much better on this. Like, you could have created a masterpiece, but if there's, like, one brushstroke off, then it's like, because you were the one who made it, you know that it's there. And that's the thing that I see. I feel like the best example of this, and the one that people can probably relate to the most, is artists. Because, like, I think a lot of us at least probably have one friend who does art or something, and we've seen them make something that we look at it and it's like, oh my god, that is gorgeous. That is one of the coolest things I've ever seen. Like, that's amazing. And then they look at it and say, oh no, but I messed up on this. This could have been better. You know, this detail was a little bit off. And I think that a lot of times we tend to assume that, like, oh, you're just being, like, overly judgmental, you know, like, why, like, this is cool. Can't you just, you know, be proud of the things that you made? When in reality, it's often not that simple, you know, because when you are the person who makes something, when you're the person who's doing the job, you know of every detail that's off. You know of every, you know, thing that wasn't necessarily done perfectly, because you were the one who did it. You did every step. And because of that, you sort of feel this responsibility for any time something goes wrong with it. You know, you feel that sense of, like, oh, this is my fault that it's wrong. Like, someone's gonna see this and they're gonna think less of me, or they're gonna, you know, think this way or think that way. Or if it's a job, like, oh, I'm gonna get demoted for this, like, my boss is gonna hate me, you know, whatever it might be. And I know that feeling all too well. Like, when I was in robotics, I certainly had plenty of times where I was, you know, working on the robot and I had messed something up, and I just thought to myself, God, now this is gonna break and it's gonna be my fault, and, you know, people are gonna hate me, they're gonna look down on me, they're gonna, you know, think less of me. And as much as I try to tell myself, like, I don't want to care about what other people think about me. I mean, I think it's a very human thing to care, at least somewhat, you know? Because, I mean, I feel like acknowledging the way other people feel about you is it's a very human thing, you know? Because, I mean, I think that from the earliest ages, we are, as people, we compare ourselves to each other, you know? And a lot of times that's also how we learn, you know? Like, we look at our parents as young children. We look at the things they do, you know, the foods they eat, their actions they take, and then we learn from that. We compare ourselves to that, and then we use that to try to improve. Like, it's a very, you know, ooga booga built-in feature for us as people. And I think that's fine, you know? Like, I feel like trying to deny that we compare ourselves to others is, in a lot of ways, I almost want to say it's a bit foolish. Because, I mean, I think that if we can't accept that we do compare ourselves to one another, then it's just going to be harder to, I guess, learn from it. Because if we constantly just tell ourselves to compare, or, I mean, even if we try to deny that we're comparing ourselves to each other, then it just creates a cycle of not really benefiting from it. Because, I mean, if we're gonna compare ourselves to one another, like, if we're gonna look at the things other people make, we're gonna look at the things that we make ourselves and compare it to others, then at the very least, we could try to, you know, learn something from it. Like, when I made a mistake in robotics, it wasn't actually the end of the world, even if I thought it was, even if with every fiber of my being, I was like, oh man, it's gonna be over, you know, I made a mistake and everyone's gonna hate me now. It wasn't like that at all, actually. It never was. It was always much more about just learning from it. Like, I would go to my mentors and I would say, hey, I think I messed this up. Or maybe I was even too scared to go to them. And then something did end up breaking. And then I ended up having to say that, like, yeah, that was my fault. And I would feel terrible. I'd feel terrible in the moment. But then I would be able to improve. I'd be able to improve off of it. And I'd be able to learn something from it, because that's what they really cared about, you know? That's what they cared about. That's what they wanted to see in all of us. Not just me, like in my entire team. The goal was never to, you know, shame us or ridicule us for making mistakes. That was never it. The goal was to teach us. The goal was to try to get us to learn as much as we could in the time that we were given, you know? And I feel like a lot of people tend to forget that. And that also goes into another step of, whenever you guys are, you know, going through stuff and you're like trying to pursue something new and you're trying to learn about it, I think the best thing you can do, and this is the one piece of advice I give to people more than any other, is that try to surround yourself with the kind of people that will teach you and inspire you and get you to learn. Surround yourself with mentors, you know, people who can really see through your failings, see through your mistakes, and get you to learn from them. Because otherwise, you're just gonna beat yourself up about it. And that's okay. Like, it's okay to admit that you could use, or you might need, other people in order to, you know, do what you want. Like, that's fine. Like, that's okay. You're allowed to want to be surrounded by other people. Like, that's fine, you know? And I feel like trying to just sit there and do everything yourself, it can not only be challenging, it can be dangerous too. Like, if you, let's say, for example, you're trying to learn how to swim, you know, whether it be learning how to swim better or just learning how to swim in the first place, you know, who knows? And you make a mistake and then suddenly you are drowning, you know, like you are gonna die, like something bad is gonna happen to you. The only way that you can get out of that is by having someone with you to teach you and having someone there to, you know, save you. And I think it's okay to admit that, you know, like it's okay to admit that sometimes we need other people there who can save us, who can help us out of whatever it is that we're going through. Because I know that a lot of times, more than anything, it's just a mental challenge. You know, you might have a really tough time at work. Like, let's say you're a doctor and you have a patient that ends up dying, and you feel just crushed. You feel destroyed because you feel like you've made that mistake and you're the reason why this person's no longer there. But the reality of it is that sometimes that's gonna happen. Sometimes that's gonna happen. That's one thing my dad's in the medical field, and there was a good amount of time where I wanted to pursue that. And one thing that he sat me down and told me about is that sometimes as a medical professional, as someone who deals with people, sometimes you're gonna make mistakes. And sometimes, unfortunately, those mistakes can cost people their lives. But you, as a person, the best thing you can do is to learn from them. Because at the end of the day, trying your absolute best to save people is your job, you know? And if you make a mistake and you lose someone, it will be absolutely crushing. It will feel like the entire world is coming down on you because you've made this mistake and there's no bringing that person back. But the best thing you can do to honor that person and honor their memory is to learn from it. It is, without a doubt, the best thing you can do. Because if you just sit there and you're sad about it, you know, for however long it might be, what benefit does that bring? What purpose did that bring to that person's life? Now, obviously, that person, they still had, you know, meaning outside of just you, but I mean, I think you guys get the idea. It's just a matter of, you know, trying to learn from the experiences that you can. And I feel like it is incredibly important to have supportive people around you. Because those are the people who are going to make sure that you are learning. You know, they're the people that will make sure that you are, you know, being supported, even if you go through really tough times. And that's gonna happen. I hate to say it, but no matter how good you are at something, no matter how perfect you might try to be, there's gonna be times where you feel like the whole world is coming down on you and you just don't know what to do. You don't know where to go. And the truth of the matter is that you gotta have people with you. You gotta have those people with you because they're the ones who will lift you back up. They're the ones who will lift you back up and say like, hey, it's gonna be okay. You're gonna get through this. Let's talk about it. You know, let's work through this together. Like, that's what I'm here for. That's what those people are there for, you know? And like, obviously there's more to just having friends than that, but I feel like it's such an important aspect that people overlook. Like, having friends is not just about, you know, having someone to talk to. It's also about sometimes having someone to cry on, you know, because that can happen sometimes. Like, I recently, with what happened with my animator, like, it was very tough because I didn't know what was going on. I was overwhelmed. I was very scared and I didn't know what to do. And I ended up calling one of my friends. I was like, hey, I'm freaking out. I don't know what's going on. Can I talk to you? And she said, yeah, absolutely. Just talk to me. Tell me what's going on. And turns out it worked. It worked fantastically. Like, after that, I felt much better. I was able to think more clearly and overall was just able to glean, I don't know, I guess not necessarily hope from the situation. Like, it was not a great situation regardless, but I was able to be more rational about things. I was able to think more clearly. And that felt good. That felt fantastic. And I feel like it really did cement in my mind that I am truly honored to be able to have met such fantastic people, you know? Because that's one other thing I will say is that sometimes finding those good people who can support you, it can be hard. But I feel like no matter what, the payoff for it is just, it's huge, you know? It's more than anything you could possibly imagine. Because, like, the great thing about being a human being, about being able to meet people, being able to meet such a wide variety of people in this day and age, we are blessed to be in a stage in the world where you can meet basically anybody. Like, you could meet someone from across the entire world in an instant. And being able to do that, being able to find so many opportunities to meet so many incredible people is something that I feel like a lot of people, you know, tend to overlook. And in a lot of ways, I think that's okay, but in a lot of ways, I want to, encourage people to talk as much as they can, to learn as much as they can, to meet as many of those amazing people as you can. Because you never know, man. Like, you could be on a game playing with somebody, and then 10 years down the line, they could be the best man at your wedding, or something like that. Like, the availability and the overall just things you can do as a human being in this day and age are remarkable. They truly, truly are remarkable. And I don't want people to kind of forget that. Like, I know that, like, a lot of people are often scared or nervous about interacting with new people because they might think that's, they're off-putting or whatever it could be. But the thing about it, right, is that you have the opportunity to meet anyone in the world. Eventually, you're going to run into some people who you don't, perfectly vibe with. And that's going to be okay. Like, that's going to happen. It's a part of life. With 8 billion people on this planet, you're obviously gonna find a lot of people who you like, a lot of people who you might not, and that's okay. And that doesn't mean that you have to hate the people that you don't agree with or you don't work well with. It just means that you can move past them. And I think that's another thing that I kind of want to address today, is that when you do meet people that you might not want to be friends with, or you might not work perfectly with, it's okay to just go past it. You know what I mean? It's okay to just go beyond and just move forward as a person. You know what I mean? It's okay to do that. It's more than okay to do that. And I feel like trying to just sit there and, bear hatred towards people in basically every situation, like, it just doesn't really benefit anyone. You know what I mean? It just doesn't really do anything to help anyone. And I'm not saying that every action you have to take has to help someone. Like, you don't have to be a perfect person. You don't have to be, like some, I don't know, angel or saint or whatever it might be. You don't have to be like that. But I think that just being able to turn away from somebody who you might not necessarily agree with is okay, because at the end of the day, that's much better than just bearing resentment and hatred towards someone, that shit sucks. like I don't know of anyone who really enjoys bearing resentment to the people around them. Like, it's not a good feeling. And I think that, being okay with just moving past it is one of the best things you can do as a person, because they're like, as a human being, as someone going through life, you are going to encounter people that you're not gonna like. You're gonna encounter people that you disagree with immensely, that, they might hurt you, they might hurt people that you care about. But just sitting there and thinking nothing but, I want to do harm on this person, what is that gonna change? What is that gonna change? Because if someone does you harm, if someone does someone harm, what kind of person would you be to just sit there and do the exact same thing back? Like, you're just repeating a cycle. And I know that's like the most movie cliche thing I've ever said, but it is true. It is very, very true, And I just think that the more we can, as people, learn to move past things and just kind of grow, I think it'll benefit a lot of people. I think that the world could be a lot better of a place. And, that's why I do, things like this, things like the weekly app and doing my streams and stuff. Especially with the weekly app, where it's just, unfiltered, just me talking away. Because I guess I want people to, I swear I said this at the very first episode of the weekly app, but I guess I want people to understand from these that I'm the person too. Like, my thoughts might change over time as well, like, I might look back on this third episode of the weekly app and be like, God, what the fuck was I talking about? I mean, I hope not, because I feel like I'm talking about a lot of good stuff right now, but it's like, it's a thing, people change over time. I'll probably change over time immensely. I'm not gonna be the same person I am today as I will be in, 5 years, 10 years, even next week, Like, I've got TwitchCon coming up. I have no idea how that could transform my life. I could meet some of the most incredible people ever there. You just never know. And, I do like that. I do like that idea of, you know, finding opportunities to meet new people who could be incredible people. Because I think that that's one thing that I wish a lot more people would bear in mind, is that every person you meet has the chance, no matter how low or high it is, every person that you meet has a chance to be the greatest person you've ever met in your life. So why not go out and meet as many people as you can? Like, it seems like a no-brainer to me. You know, if you know that every single person has the potential to be an incredible person, would you not just want to increase your odds as much as possible? Like, I would. And so I feel like it only makes sense that I encourage other people to do that as well. It's something that I said before. It's often not about luck. And this is something that you guys can take into, I guess, a lot of aspects. Very, very rarely in life are things truly about luck. It's much more about opportunities, finding and creating opportunities for yourself, no matter what it is, no matter what you're doing. It could be through a job, it could be, you know, as a creator reaching out to others. But very, very rarely in life do things truly boil down to luck. Because at the end of the day, every opportunity that you create for yourself, every, you know, video that you make that could be seen by other people, every single one of those opportunities has the chance to be, you know, the greatest opportunity, right? So I guess just, you know, try to do really everything that you can to just find stuff and do stuff. Like, just do things, you know? You never know what skill could be the most important thing that you ever learn in your life. Like, I mean, if you want to do stuff and you're able to, you know, you're able to afford it, you're able to, you know, do whatever it might be, just do it, you know? Like, take that random pottery class, do the first aid CPR training, you know, just do whatever you want. Because the thing is, you don't know if, you know, taking that pottery class, you don't know what it could lead to. Like, everything in life is just a massive, massive butterfly effect, right? Because you could take that pottery class and then you could be at a party at some point, and then you could talk about taking that pottery class to a person you meet, and then who knows, maybe that person could end up being the love of your life. And the reason that you're able to talk to them is because you took that seemingly really dumb, really weird pottery class. Like, you just never know. And I think that's being able to take those opportunities is something that everyone needs to do, you know? Like, it's just, it's important. It's important to be able to go out and just learn stuff. Just do stuff. Experience the world as you see it. It's the most overstated thing ever, but it is true. You just have to go out and do things. Because the more things you do, the more opportunities you have. And again, every opportunity has a chance to be the greatest opportunity you ever had in your life. But yeah, I think that's all about that I have. What else have we got on the docket? So I talked about already, you know, going through, I guess, realizing that I shouldn't be a perfectionist. I guess I do have one other thing to mention, and that is, I think as of recently, I've struggled with something that a lot of other people have, which is trying to, like, understand, like, how to find meaning in the things that in the things that I do, in the things that I make. Because while I do say very often that creating content is something that I love more than anything else, and it is true. It is very true. Creating content is what I've wanted to do my entire life, and it's what I'm going to do my entire life. But that being said, like, there are still times where I might be editing late at night, and I'm sitting there, I'm just struggling to think, like, why am I doing this? You know, why am I doing this particular task? Even if it is part of, you know, a greater purpose of a greater thing that I might be doing, it's still just like, it feels, you know, boring. It feels lame, you know? I don't necessarily want to do this, but I think that recognizing that every part of the thing you want to do is important is really, really good. It's really good, and it'll make you just a lot more okay with, those, less active times, right? Where you might be, like, not necessarily having a fantastic time. You might not be making, the greatest thing ever. You might still be in that learning phase. You might still just be in that kind of working phase. But I guess just understanding that is, part of it is good. It's really good. It's a really, really good thing to do, because it'll bring you a lot more peace than you might realize at first. Just knowing and accepting that not everything is going to be perfect, not everything is going to be, fantastic on the first try. It's a very, very comforting feeling once you allow it to be. Once you kind of allow yourself to be comfortable being uncomfortable, Like, that's one of the best things that my dad has ever taught me, is that there's very little learning in the comfort zone. So, like, at the end of the day, if you truly do want to improve at something, there's going to be a lot of times where you're not exactly going to be comfortable. You're not going to feel the best. You're not going to feel the greatest. You're going to have days where it's like, God, I don't want to do this. Every single cell in my body is telling me that I don't want to do this. I just want to lay in bed and just sleep because I'm exhausted, I'm tired, I'm overwhelmed. Like, you're going to have those feelings, and you're going to have them a lot. Like, those feelings are going to exist, and they're really never going to go away. Like, my grandpa had those feelings. My dad has those feelings. Everyone I know has those feelings. And the best thing you can do is accept them. It really, really is. Just accepting those feelings and just kind of understanding that they're going to be there for the rest of your life. They're going to be there no matter what. And just kind of learning to live with them, Just learning to live with the fact that sometimes you might not feel the greatest. You might not feel perfect. And just kind of, I guess the way that I think about it, at least, is, or the way that I like to think about accepting it, is the fact that I'm not necessarily comfortable all the time. But the thing is, I think it's honestly that discomfort and the feeling of, like, not enjoying every single moment that makes the good moments all the better, It's like the yin to the yang of having a good time, right? Like, in order to really, I guess, experience feeling good, you're gonna have to experience feeling bad. You're gonna have to experience those hard work, the sleepless nights, the times of just being exhausted and not wanting to do anything. Like, that is going to be a part of it. And I think that just, being able to, I just be okay with it, And I think that just being conscious of those, like, all those, because, I mean, it is just, like, it's a bunch of moving parts, right? Like, it's always very, very rarely is, like, no, did I just shoot a fucking chair? What was that? I just got sidetracked on the gameplay for the first time ever. That was weird. Anyways, but yeah, like, just learning to accept that the bad is part of the good's part of the bad, It's just, that's it. That really, really is it, We can try to, like, as people, we can try to, make the good part of our lives shine as much as possible. And I feel like a lot of people do that, and that's fine. Just trying to sit there and be like, I only want to experience the good parts of life. Like, I only want, the luxuries or the good times. But the thing is, and I think this is both kind of, as much as it hurts, it is part of, the beauty of being a human being, is that no matter how much you might want to make everything in your life perfect, no matter how much you might want to, make everything flawless and, never have troubles with anything, eventually, it doesn't matter how rich, how powerful, how good of a person you are, there's going to be hard times. That is an inevitability of life. It will happen no matter what. There is nothing you can do as a person to make life perfect for you. But that being said, that's not being perfect, that not being able to do everything possible, it also will make it so that, whenever you do accomplish the things that you want to accomplish, it'll make it feel, I think the best way I can describe it is it'll make it feel real, Because I think a lot of times, I think a term that gets thrown around really often is like dissociation. And I feel like a very, very big part of that is people not really recognizing their accomplishments, not really being able to, I guess, just sit down and say, I did this thing and I did it well. I accomplished this on my own accord and I'm happy with it. I'm happy with this. I am not even just okay with how this thing went. I'm overjoyed at how it went. I'm happy with the thing that I did. And I think that learning how to do that, learning how to be happy with the things that you did is wonderful. Like it's amazing, and it's one of the most overlooked things ever, especially in this day and age. Like, I don't know when it became a thing, but like it is. I've noticed it in almost every person that I meet. People are just not able to sit down and smile at the things that they've accomplished. And dude, I get that too. Like something, it's one of the things that I struggle with the most is, sitting there and comparing myself to other people and being like, I'm not as accomplished as these people. I haven't done as well as them. And it sucks. It's not a good feeling. Feeling like you aren't the best, feeling like, and I think a product of that, I think that's a product of, kind of just the age that we live in, right? Because we live in an age where we do have access to all the information we could ever want. And a part of that is we also have access to everyone else's, achievements. We have access to know how, good everyone else is doing. And oftentimes we take it as how much better other people are doing than we are. How much more successful or how much less effort they might be putting in than you. And like, that's the thing. Cause like, okay, for me, right? One thing that I have thought about a lot until I guess came to peace with it a lot more, especially recently, is looking at other creators who might be around my size or might be around my, age. Like, they might have been doing this for as long as me, and they might be, wildly more successful. And I just sit there and I'm trying to figure out, like, why? Why are you doing better than me? Why are you more successful? Why are you able to do this and I'm not? And I think that it's tough, It's really, really tough. And it's something that I have struggled with for a very, very long time. But I think the way that I came to realize it is just kind of honestly doing it more. And I'll explain how, because I guess what I thought about is the fact that everyone, and I mean everyone's journey, is going to be different, right? Like, I might sit there and think, oh, like this person's doing better than me with half as much effort in half as much time. But at the end of the day, I don't know where those roads are going to end up leading, right? Like, you can think back to some of the oldest content creators you might know, and their journey's not going to be the same as someone who just started today. Like Markiplier, Jacksepticeye, PewDiePie, they didn't have, they didn't have 1 million subscribers after, a week, a month, a year, 2 years, 3 years of doing what they did. Like, that's just not how it works. That's not how it works. And that's going to be how it is. But then you are also going to have some people who might succeed overnight. They might find that fame and fortune, and they might be able to do everything that you want to do. But at the end of the day, they're also experiencing that too, because don't forget that, that blowing up overnight, it comes with its challenges too. Like, you have the challenge of, trying to, I guess, fit the shoe, because let's say you do explode overnight. Where do you go from there? Everyone's expecting things of you, and it's gonna get overwhelming. It's gonna be scary. And I can only imagine how those people who have blown up overnight feel, Like, I can only imagine that they're sitting there trying to figure out what they did and how to replicate it or how to do it again. Because, I mean, that's the pressure you end up feeling, right? Like, you just feel like, I have to replicate this. I have to do it again. I have to keep doing this. I have to keep up this momentum. Otherwise, I have failed. And so, yeah, there is always different steps of every journey, because that's one thing about life, is that I feel like a lot of people kind of talk about, like, oh, main character this, or, like, everyone else's stories. The reality of it is that everyone's the main character of their own story. You are the main character of your own story. I'm the main character of my own story. And the thing is, each of our stories is going to be different. Every single one of our stories are going to be different. That doesn't necessarily make one story better or worse. That doesn't make one story, more significant or more important. It just means that they're going to be different. And that's why you might have, some people who get along better than others. You might have people who vibe with you, but they might not vibe with someone else. Like, every story also has its other characters, and those characters might have their own stories too. And that's just gonna be how life is, It's just gonna be a matter of really, truly writing your own story and finding the characters that you want to introduce, and just being able to, I guess, be content with the fact that sometimes the story's not gonna be perfect. There might not be a good ending to every chapter. There might not be a perfect solution to every problem. Like, sometimes bad things are going to happen, and there's going to be consequences to that. And it's always going to be that way. It is always going to be that way. As much as that hurts to think about, it will always be that way. But I think that, being able to, I guess, just move past that is really, really nice. And once you're able to do it, I think that every person will probably feel a lot better about, who they are. And people will be able to feel a lot better about their stories, about their journeys, And I think the reason why I believe in that so much is because, specifically, I have something that I encourage all of you to do. Next time you are in a car with somebody, or especially if you take an Uber, talk to them. This is something that I did very often in college, which is that I would take an Uber, or I'd be going somewhere, and just try to talk to the person that you're with, and you'll find that people have such interesting stories to tell. Like, a person might seem like the most, mediocre person ever. But the thing is that even people who might appear, average, or people who might not seem like they have, the most interesting of lives, it might be interesting to you. So just, ask them about it. Try to learn. Try to ask them, like, hey, how'd you get to this spot? How'd you, become a driver? Tell me about yourself. And you'll find that, like, so many people have experienced so many things in different ways, and you can learn so much from it. And I think personally that that's just a really cool feature of, being a person, right? It's a little perk, We have the ability to talk to each other and learn from each other, and, be able to really become better people as a result of that, So, yeah, I guess just next time you're in a car, next time you're with somebody, just try talking to them. Try learning from them. Try learning about them. And I think that you'll find that more often than not, you'll learn a lot. You'll learn a lot about those people. You'll learn a lot about yourself in the process too. You'll learn things that you might not have ever had the opportunity to learn about before. Because that's another part of talking to other people, is that you get a lot of new perspectives. You get a lot of, ways to think about stuff. And it's one of the best things you can do. So yeah, just really try your best to go out there, talk to people, and just learn as much as you can, accept as much as you can, and just, I guess overall, just, you know, try to be a good person. Try to be a good person to everyone that you meet. I think that's probably all I've got for today. I'm gonna try to figure out what to do for next week because, spoiler alert, this time next week, I will be in California. So I don't know if I'll be bringing some of my recording equipment. If anything, I might try to record the weekly yap from the airport because I think that would be, yeah, I don't know, kind of cool. I think it'd be fun. You know, being able to just sit there. I'll try to find a quiet space and just talk to you guys and, I don't know, maybe interview someone else. I don't know what I'll do. But, yeah. I'll see you guys next time. I hope you enjoyed this episode. And just remember, every single one of you is valuable. Every single one of you has the opportunity to learn stuff. And I hope that you guys go out and do that. So, yeah. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe. And I'll see all of you next time. Bye-bye!